Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Three Life Changing Tips from Highly Effective People. And today we have Leisa Peterson from Arizona, USA. Welcome, Lisa, to the show.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. So, normally we have wonderful guests with different professional backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and we have interesting tips. The purpose of the show is to give more exposure to all our friends and viewers. So, Lisa, her roots are way back from actually German roots, maybe from 1800s onwards. Their family moved to USA, so it's very interesting. We had a lot of fun chatting about it. So, Lisa, give us a brief introduction about yourself.
Author and a coach and a mom and a wife. And I wrote a book over the past 5 years focused on helping people move out of scarcity ways of thinking. That is like thinking there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. And what can people do to help themselves move into more prosperous thinking? And today I'll be talking about some tips that people can do to, if they're finding themselves, with fear, with stress, with worry, with concern, especially in the aftermath and the ongoing challenges with the pandemic. What can you do to help yourself make better decisions and take better care of yourself from a mindset perspective with money and resources?
Yes, this is really important, especially in the time of pandemic. People have made a pause and started to reevaluate their lives. And before there was an automatic life, now there is a sudden change. People changed their jobs or lost their jobs, started new business. Now they are analyzing their situation. That will be really interesting. So maybe we can quickly go to our tip number one.
So, tip number one, like we were talking about offline, just to bring everybody up to speed, I teach about scarcity. And this is not just a concept, this is actually something that's been researched. These two research professors, Harvard and Yale, figured out that when we are consumed by the state of there's not enough, we have a loss in IQ of about 13 or 14 points, which is similar to losing a whole night's sleep, which causes us to have something called tunnel vision. So instead of seeing all the possibilities that are available to us in any given moment, we only see a few possibilities. And many times the things that we do see are like, we only see them from what could go wrong rather than what is the opportunity that we could run with. So the first tip that I want to suggest to everybody is that some of the things that we're doing in our lives already can actually help us change. And so let's look at something like meditation, which I talk a lot about, or we could call it contemplation. Or if you have a spiritual practice and you sit in silence and you commune, with God or something beyond, the limited sense of self, it actually helps us restore ourselves to our natural presence, our natural and true value. So that's the first thing I want to mention, is that you can actually do this by things that you might already be doing, but you're changing the way that you're thinking from a place of fear into a place of love. And the more you spend time doing that, the easier it is to be thinking prosperously.
I think it is a very good tip. And actually, many of us already know this, but it's a good reminder to make a pause. And those who are religious people, they can connect with God and take a pause, or other people can, contemplation or yoga. But it's very important to take a break. Which Let's move to tip number two.
So, tip number two is about journaling. So many times we don't know the reasons that we're making the decisions that we're making in life. And it has a lot to do with our upraising, what our parents were teaching us, what the society we grew up in were teaching us. And we can use something like journaling on a regular basis to ask ourselves compelling questions that say, well, where did this come from? Like, question our beliefs, if you will, but through the action of journaling, where did this belief come from? Why do I think that the world is going to fall apart if I don't do this, this, and this? And in the process of journaling, we start to uncover that we have gotten a lot of conditioning from other people that isn't really true for us. And we can question those assumptions.
Yeah, that really makes sense. We will discuss about that after the third tip also. Yeah, let's move to tip number three.
Yeah, so the third thing that I would recommend, I am a money specialist, and what I have noticed is that there's a lot of fear that people have about money. Let's just face it, we've all got some trauma or some stories. And so, what I invite everyone to do is take time to notice if you have a really good process in place for seeing how much money is coming in on a monthly basis and how much money is going out. And when there's a gap, when there's maybe not as much money coming in as money going out, invite yourself, rather than being in scarcity, invite yourself to say, what possibilities can I create in my life to create more income coming in? What am I missing here? There's always an opportunity for more money. How can I be more receptive to those ideas?
True. Mhm. Yeah, so we will discuss more about it now. That we will talk about scarcity. You know, uh, as soon as the pandemic came, there was a lot of panic that the world, the ending, and there is a food is ending, and this kind of a panic feeling, and then because of this panic feeling, people were not able to make use of their normal creativity. But now we are strolling, going past it. But in general, also, regardless of the pandemic, people think that the humanity, there's population is growing, there is less food, less possibilities to earn. But on the other hand, as you said, of course, money is flowing, everybody is spending. So the mindset is very important. What do you think?
Totally. And I want to be clear because we talked about this too. It isn't that we're ignoring that some people have lost their jobs. Like some people have. That is not what we're ignoring. What we're doing instead is we're saying, okay, here's the reality of my situation right now. And if I focus on all the things that could go wrong, I'm not helping myself. I'm not helping my family. So, what can we do from a mindset perspective to create more positive thinking, more joy, even if it's a financial struggle right now for you? Like, we've got to turn the dial because let's look at the data. The data says that the richest people on the planet have actually gotten exponentially more wealthy during the pandemic. That tells us that they're thinking differently, that they're setting up their lives differently than the majority of people who are in the scarcity frame of thinking. It really is a switch that we've got to hold ourselves responsible for.
I think that really makes sense. So there are negative things, but just focusing on them, it does not help. So the fact is that even the people who are working from home, still their income spent, they are spending the money, but the way
Mhm.
they are spending has changed. Maybe they are spending it online now. So it means that the way the businesses have also changed, have evolved. So we have to adapt to it also. Now you talked about the rich people, and that's really very interesting. And the often the middle class people also think that rich are getting rich. They are, instead of trying to do something to change their lives, they are just blaming that, okay, rich are getting rich and we are not getting richer. But
Yeah.
it's about the mindset. What do you think about
I totally think it's about the mindset. And it's not that we have to figure out all the details. We don't have to do everything to make it happen. There is a lot of magic that happens in our lives when we become open to a concept even like luck. I mean, there's a lot of research that when we think that we're a lucky person, lucky things happen for us. When we think we're an unlucky person, they don't happen because we're not looking for them. We're not open to what could happen. All kinds of studies. There's a professor in the UK who studies this, and it cracks me up because it's like a lucky person will find the magic in every area of their life because they're like, I'm lucky. They find money on the ground when they're walking because they're actually looking. They're like open. They're not like thinking about, they're walking and they're thinking about all the stressful thoughts and they miss all the possibilities that they're walking past. It's really, really funny to see this be researched.
actually this is very important also. It's not just about being lucky, but actually they're trying to find new ways. If you try to find new ways, you will find at least something. But if our mind is closed and we are just thinking negativity, then we will feel negative also, right? It's very straightforward.
Yeah, it's fun. Becomes
Yeah,
more
good.
joyful for life.
And if the viewers have some questions from Lisa or about the situation in the world going on right now and they want to start something new, they can write in the comments also. So we were talking about that there have been new ways in the time of scarcity when people are thinking there is not much enough, but still people are new. There is new earning opportunities, especially in the sector of going virtual. Online people are starting selling, and instead of previously people need to open full shops, now they can just have a couple of articles online. They are doing it, drop shipping it increasing. People have been able to teach online to others. So there have been new opportunities, but of course, those who did this successfully, they tried to learn about the change and how they can, you know, play a role, contribute to the other's life, and also earn. So it's nothing bad about it. Just about this. What do you think about this? How people can think positively in these times?
Yeah, I was reading a story the other day by a coach. I think his name is Dan Henry. And he is very, very successful. But how he thinks about life is if he's going to buy something, he wanted to buy a $2 million yacht. And he's like, well, okay, I want to buy the yacht. How could I pay for it? And at first he realized there was a $700,000 US tax credit. So immediately he could write that off of his taxes. So the yacht was only going to cost 1.3 million. Then he went out and he went to his community and he said, if I host days where everyone comes onto my yacht and I work with like a small group of people and it's like, I don't know, $15,000 for one day, does anyone want to come? And he got 75 people. So he got like $1 million coming into his business of people who wanted to fly to the Bahamas and go on his yacht. And then he offered it up to his friends to do the same thing. And he had paid for the yacht before he even had to pay for it. And like when we realize that life is filled with opportunity, it's up to us to figure out how to make it work. Everything changes.
Such a nice story, and actually we can relate. And those who are watching, they can relate. For example, many times we are working and we're working from day till night, and some ideas come up. For example, somebody says, "Okay, if I make a for my friends here in a certain language, if I make a library, but it will be a good idea. People do, and then I say, no, it's a headache. It can never happen. But like this guy, if he just make a post or on some social media or ask that, okay, if I do this, are you interested? People will say yes or no. It might be they are interested. If they are not interested, you lose nothing other than posting it, and you got your answer because before posting you were uncertain about it. Similarly, we can try out. It's about starting thinking about new options.
Yeah.
So you talked about the art of abundance. What is the art of abundance?
The art of abundance is about the fact that this is more like art than it is science. But people try to use science to figure out how to create more prosperity in their lives. And it doesn't happen that way. It isn't like, 1 + 1 = 2. There's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of trying and falling down and then trying again and then falling down. And you get so used to falling down that after a while, you're like, that's just part of the experience. It actually becomes fun because you're like, I don't let fear stop me. And that's a really fun feeling. So the art of abundance is if you want abundance, you're going to have to be creative in how you get there. It's going to be built for you. It's not going to be for anyone else. It's just your path.
It's about ourselves, and very rightly said that if we are not afraid of losing, then we can try new things. And also, I read about that how you can learn to feel good about yourself. So, for example, for a similar situation, like old days, we hear the example of seeing the glass half full. Some people will cry that we have less stuff. Other will think, yeah, still we have something and we can build on that. How do you build up? What do you think about this?
How do we build on what we already
Or
have?
how you feel good about yourself? How can people feel good about themselves in a certain amount of situation?
Yeah. So it's actually the opposite of what most people think, what I'm going to say. And it was just building off of what I just started, which is we think that if we fail at things, we're going to think worse about ourselves. And at first, that's true. That might happen. But what I have seen and what entrepreneurship has taught me is that it is actually in the resilience of failing and not letting it stop you that you gain confidence about yourself. And if you don't try anything, you don't get to go to the end. You don't jump to the end and say, I feel great about myself because you didn't do the work. You didn't actually establish the true confidence, which is I can meet whatever challenge comes into my life, no matter what. And that's how I feel about my
Yes.
life.
This is very good actually, and I need your help for my viewers. Actually, I'm convinced. So you said I am convinced that I can face the challenges, but for that you need to have your own stuff, your own business, your own stuff. Because in a given mindset, if you're working in a company and there is you are limited, you cannot make your own decisions also about your time, about your financial stability, but it's many people think it's stable enough, you are getting some income, it's stable, but actually COVID showed that nothing is stable actually. You people were working hard, reaching the management level, and all of a sudden the whole department was laid off. We
Yeah.
talk about and many people talk about financial independence and economic freedom. What is that? Can you elaborate? And how can entrepreneurship play a role in it?
Yeah. So there's lots and lots of definitions of it. There's a movement in the United States called FIRE, which is financially independent, retire early. The idea there is you spend as little as you possibly can when you're young and you make as much, and then you save like 50% of your income, and then you get to a point where you could live off of about 4% of the amount of money that you've saved in the bank, or I mean, obviously it's going to be in some kind of investing vehicle. For me, I look at it a little differently. I'm not a big fan of putting all my money in the stock market. I don't like that. I'm like a lot of women. I like to have diversification. I like to have real estate, commercial real estate, residential real estate. I like to have stocks. I like to have bonds. I like to have a lot of different things. I like to have a business. So what for me financial freedom means is that I could walk away from all of my active business sources. Like this is an active business source, whereas my real estate is more passive. I could walk away from all my active businesses and still live comfortably with no concern for the rest of my life. And I have reached that stage. And so it gives me incredible freedom so that I never make decisions about my business or what I'm going to do from a place of scarcity.
Yeah, so that is also very nice. It was a pleasure talking to you. And before signing off for today, we will talk a bit about Lisa's background. So Lisa is so we are I'm from Pakistan in Germany since several years, and Lisa is originally from her forefathers were from Germany. It's interesting. Now she and her husband are living in USA, and actually they cannot speak German language. Tell us about this experience. People tell you that no, German is the very important language in the world. Like for example, for us, it's a difficult language, but you cannot
Yeah.
speak also.
I studied French in middle school and high school, and I can't speak French either. So even if I had studied German, I probably would not be fluent. In the United States, we don't have a lot of opportunities to use other languages, like maybe in Europe where you have your native tongue and then you have English, which seems to be pretty more common. So yeah, I wish I could speak a lot of languages. I think it's beautiful. When people tell me they can speak like 5 languages, my jaw drops and I'm like, how do you do that? It's amazing. But
But
yeah,
anyways, now, especially in COVID times, we have realized or unleashed the potential of globalization. How the people from across the world are doing the world business with each other online, or not even just business, the cultural activities, the connections, and now this call is also proof of that. So the world has truly become global, right?
yeah, yeah, it's very global. I have clients from all over the world. One of my dear clients I see every several days a week is in India. And every time she shows up, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool that we get to work together in the way that we do.
Yes, it was a pleasure talking to you, Lisa, and all the best for your future activities. And thank you very much, all the viewers who joined in and they are watching live show on Sunday. Wish you a good week ahead, good life ahead, prosperous life ahead, and take some of these tips from Lisa. We talked about scarcity and how you can feel about yourself and think about the new opportunities. Lisa, before signing out, you want to say some last goodbye tip for our viewers?
I'm just really happy that we could spend this time together. I hope that you're taking away something that gives you pause, that helps you to be your most fulfilled and dynamic and incredible self, because I know that you are. It's just maybe some little things could help. So thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
It was a wonderful to chat with you, and I will add the description about Lisa, her website, and her work on in the description of this post later on. And thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.